Hi, gang! Working with verbs can be tricky, and we all have certain verbs that cause us problems. But there are a few sets of verbs that are so tricky that I think they prove that the grammar gods, whoever they are a bunch of sadists. I thought we would spend a little time discussing those sets of verbs. Now, I'm not going to count off a lot of points on these verbs, even in portfolio, because they are a pain in the neck. But I will note these errors on initial submission drafts, so I thought it would help if I explain how these ridiculous verb sets work. The first pair of verbs that I think are tricky are read and lead. That's R-E-A-D and L-E-A-D. As you notice, the present tense forms of these verbs sound alike and are spelled the same, which makes sense. It's when we move to the past tense that it gets tricky. The past tense of read, R-E-A-D, is read, R-E-A-D. The spelling doesn't change when we move to the past tense of read, but is pronounced the same as the color red, which is spelled R-E-D. The past tense of lead is led. The past tense of L-E-A-D is L-E-D. The spelling is what's tricky here. Led, L-E-D, is pronounced so it rhymes with red, R-E-D, or R-E-A-D. But led, L-E-D, is spelled differently than red, R-E-A-D. As if that's not confusing enough, there are other words in English that make it even worse. As we've noticed, there is a word in English that is spelled R-E-D that is pronounced the same as the past tense of the verb read, R-E-A-D. There is also a word in English that is spelled L-E-A-D that rhymes with deed. But lead, L-E-A-D, means to be, for example, at the head of a line and having others follow you. And then there is also a word in English that is spelled L-E-A-D that rhymes with head. But lead, spelled L-E-A-D, refers to a metal, as in a lead pipe. Yeah, this set of verbs is confusing and a pain to work with. But hang on, it gets worse. Choose versus lose versus loose. Yeah, we're talking about a set of 3 tricky verbs here. So fasten your seatbelt. The past tense of choose, C-H-O-O-S-E, is chose, C-H-O-S-E. Notice the spelling here. Chose, C-H-O-S-E, only has one O in it. Now choose, C-H-O-O-S-E, is present tense, and lose, L-O-S-E, is present tense of a different verb, and they sound the same. Okay, still with me? But L-O-S-E, lose, is spelled like C-H-O-S-E, chose, which is the past tense of C-H-O-O-S-E, choose. Don't worry if you're confused. This is really confusing. I know that. Just take some notes. You might have to go through it a couple of times. And again, don't worry too much if you don't get these right, because I'm not going to count off for it, because it's about to get trickier still. Now, there is a word in English that is spelled L-L-O-S-E, but that doesn't rhyme with choose, C-H-O-O-S-E. It rhymes with goose, G-O-O-S-E. Usually, we use loose loose as an adjective, such as in that screw is loose or that's a loose screw. But it can be used as a verb meaning to release something, such as I will loose the dogs. Okay, this is awful, right? I know it's awful, which is why I don't really expect you to learn this right now. Okay? I'm just telling you about it because as you go on in college, you want to be able to write even better. And nobody's ever going to teach you grammar again. So I thought I'd take some time to go over some of these finer points. But don't panic. I'm not going to count off for this kind of thing, even in portfolio, because these verbs are very tricky. And yeah, I saved the best, or should I say the worst, for last. This set of verbs, lie and lay, is so stupid that it makes me want to beat the grammar gods over the head with a dictionary. Okay? Let's start with the basic present tense verbs. Lie, L-I-E, means recline, such as I like to lie on the sofa to watch TV. Now, something I want to point out here, okay? Contrary to how we usually say it, we lie out in the sun. We don't lay out in the sun. Because you see, lie doesn't have a direct object. We don't lie something on something else. For example, we don't lie a book on a table. We lay a book on a table. That's because lay, L-A-Y, means to place something somewhere. Lay as a present tense verb must have a direct object. For example, we lay a book on a table, we lay our head on the desk, and chickens lay eggs. Okay, here's a little something to help keep you straight which word means to recline and which one means to place something somewhere. But I'm going to apologize in advance, okay? This is a little scatological. In other words, it's kind of sexual and maybe even a touch on the dirty side. I'm sorry about that. I don't mean to offend anyone. Really, I don't. But students have told me that this little explanation helps. So I hope you'll forgive me for this. Okay, now let's look at these words. Lie means recline. People lie in bed. Men lie in bed. They say, of course, I'll call you tomorrow. But women lie in bed too. They say, it was the best I've ever had. But if we use lay, we have to lay something. Or we have to lay someone. Because, well, if there's no one else there, we aren't laying someone. We're doing something that's involving another verb that we're just not even going to talk about in this class. Oh my, oh my. Sorry, I really didn't mean to offend you, and I hope I didn't embarrass you. But remember, people lie in bed, and they lay something, or they lay someone. Sorry. Okay, now this last point, as far as I'm concerned, proves absolutely positive that the grammar gods are nothing but a bunch of sadists. This set of verbs is hard enough to keep straight just in the present tense, but it's worse because the past tense of lie is lay. This is how this works. Today I will lie on the sofa and then lay my head on a pillow. Yesterday I lay on the sofa and laid my head on the pillow. Yeah, I know. What? Couldn't the grammar gods come up with a different word to be the past tense of lie? Isn't this verb set confusing enough without having the present tense of lay be the past tense of lie? Are they intentionally trying to torture us or what? I don't know. But I'll tell you, if I were running things, this would be a whole lot easier. Unfortunately, I'm not. Well, I think that reviews some of the trickiest verbs in the language. Now remember, I'm not going to count off for these types of errors, but I will note them in the margins of your initial submission drafts, so I wanted to explain what was wrong with them. Also, this is probably the very last time anyone's going to ever teach you grammar. So I wanted to go over it so that when you get further in college and you want to use some more sophisticated types of grammar, you know what was correct. These verbs just suck when it comes right down to it, and the only way to keep this stuff straight is by memorizing it. And yeah, it's garbage like this that make English a difficult language to learn. I really don't envy people trying to learn English as a second language. And no matter how they do in my classes, I have great admiration for people who go to college in a country that speaks a language that's not their native tongue. I wouldn't even have the courage to try that. So I really admire those students. Well, thanks for listening to this presentation. As I said, these are some of the finer points of grammar. I don't expect you to use them perfectly in English 100, not even in portfolio. But I hope this helps explain some of the marginal comments you'll see on your initial submission drafts. Now you know if you have any questions about anything in this course, all you have to do is email me through Canvas. Until we talk again, work hard, sure. But make sure you also take some time to relax and have a good time, because that's important too.